In a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. And despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California and have been doing so rather continuously for over 2 years now. You got a belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat. It's great to see you back tonight. Is Tuesday night. It is July 9th, the year of our Lord 2019. Dink is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours for the best of them. And the lava lamp is in fact lighted to my left, your right, indicating that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. I don't monitor any other chat room. It's only one fat fuzzball right here. It's just me. I just monitor one single solitary chat room. So, you want to be in chat? And I really would like you to be in chat. Interact at shrmedia.com. You can watch us on Big Sarge Media Facebook page, on the SHR Media Facebook page, and on the SHR Media YouTube channel. I got to tell you, we don't water our politics just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred, the speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is whatever we continuously ask, and that's this: flush the toilet. Jiggle the damn handle. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, we have the pleasure of speaking to somebody that, unfortunately, I don't know all that much about, but he is a way cool guy. I've heard his show. Got a great show. So this is the first time that I've actually had him on the air. And the gentleman's name is Jeremy Hanson. And so, I've only recently become acquainted with him due to my association, like I say, with Big Sarge at Big Sarge Media, who, by the way, is nice enough to simulcast my show on the Big Sarge Media Facebook page, every broadcast. Like I say, this gentleman's name is Jeremy Hanson, and he is of the radio show UNLEASHED Jeremy Hanson. So let's welcome Jeremy Hanson to the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Good evening, sir. How do you do?
Good. How about yourself?
Excellent. Tell you what, before we go further, as is customary, I would be remiss if I didn't do this. Can you give us your social media, where you can be found on the internet, and as I suspect, most importantly, information about where people can find your radio show?
Okay, well, yeah, you can catch me on Facebook, Unleash Jeremy Hanson. You can find me on Twitter at Unleash Show 1. Parlor, I can't remember, but just search Jeremy Hanson. I'm over there. My show is on right now. That's a hint, by the way. From 5 to 7 Eastern Time on Mojo50.com, iHeartRadio. You can come over to Spreaker, Unleash Jeremy Hanson. That's kind of what I do over there. That's where we monitor. That's where we have everybody in the family. And you can go over to UJHLive.com. We're doing a lot of stuff over there. Thank you.
Well, I always want to know, and let me stop here just for a second, because we're going to get into the bits and pieces, the nuts, the gristle. Like I say here, there are four, the basic food groups, if I'm not mistaken, there are four, are, let's say, let me see, sugar, fat, starch, and gristle. And all of those things can be found here in the saloon. But tonight, I want to get into the nitty-gritty so that we can understand a little bit more about your radio show. So when I came across your show, Jeremy Hanson, the very first question that popped into my brainulus was, okay, why is your show called Unleashed Jeremy Hanson instead of Jeremy Hanson Unleashed? Call me weird, but that's just the first question that came into my brain.
I'll tell you, the honest God truth is because that adjective kind of fits me. And instead of putting me first, I wanted the adjective to describe who I was. Okay. It's kind of a mind thing. Okay.
Alrighty. The other thing that astounds me about you, and I wanted to discuss this a little bit, and maybe you think that it's just kind of weird, but doing a similar thing and then having done it actually on terrestrial radio in the 70s, your promos indicate that you're on the air, and you've said Monday through Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific is what it equates to. Okay, Jeremy Hanson, that's 2 hours of solid material, 5 days a week. That's tough.
It's a killer.
That is tough.
It is.
Jeremy Hanson, as you and I both know, producing a good, listenable radio show for the internet is no different than having such a thing on terrestrial radio. In truth, with a good show, folks should never, ever be able to tell the difference. And I cannot, when I listen to your show, I cannot tell the difference. I would be listening to you. The quality is such that I would expect that on terrestrial radio. It's no difference, though. The difference, therefore, is what we call show prep. I'll be honest. This is what floors the hell out of me about you. Doing show prep for my two-hour shows a week is a little challenging. I don't wing it. For me, there's a lot of work involved. I mean, I know people who've produced just one solitary single-hour internet show a week, and in a number of circumstances, they find that tasking, or they have given up altogether. So, Jeremy Hanson, right off the bat, mister, I got to ask you an important question. What's your secret? Sure. How can you produce 2 hours of quality content a day that people want to listen to? You impress the hell out of me. That's tough. That's not easy.
Well, I don't think there really is a secret. I think the people, my big fans, the Unleashed Nation family, they can tell when I'm tired. They can tell, when I've got sleep. And as well as I do, when you're doing show prep and you have sources that live all over the world, you kind of get used to the 3, 4 o'clock in the morning phone calls. And you kind of prep out days ahead of time, and then you'll get a hot call that comes in, and you got to get out in the studio. And, I'm really lucky. I have a beautiful family. I have 11 kids and a wife, and my wife is super supportive of my show. And here's the thing, man. I want to make my family's future bright. And if I don't put the work in, it's not going to be bright for them. And I guess that's the secret, I guess.
Okay. Then I want to make something very important to people that I consider to be very important, known to the people that are listening right now and to the devotees of your show. To me, this is not Jeremy Hanson who works, 40 hours a week on a job, and this is my hobby. It seems to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, this is no hobby. This is your job.
Yep, that's a fact. So, it's my job.
So, folks, make no mistake, when you're listening to, and again, this is what I want to emphasize that floors the hell out of me. This isn't a hobby for Jeremy. This is his job. This is what he does. And so when you go to his show, right, and I've picked up your show now for about the past week in preparation for talking to you tonight, you go to Unleash Jeremy Hanson. It is a professional radio show with a host that is excellent, and I don't mind saying that in the slightest because I'm only speaking the truth.
Thank you.
So this is a labor of love coupled with this is what makes his world go. So my hat is off to you, sir, for the dedication and the perseverance and the work, because it's work, folks. If anybody thinks that I get in front of this show and I just wing it, this is not Sackheads. I don't wing it on this show. And my guess is you don't wing it either. There's a lot of work that goes into this. And I think I'm saying, Jeremy Hanson, knowing all that, sir, I appreciate the work that you put into your show, because the corollary of that is it shows in the quality of your product. And I think probably that's what I wanted to say.
You're making me blush over here. You're making me blush, but no, you're right. And I don't think a lot of people know how much it is, how much work, effort, dedication, that type of thing. I'm really lucky. I've surrounded myself with some really good people. Big Sarge, Eric Thompson. Before, when Jim was around, he had a great show. Ron Phillips, all those guys, Rocky Stucci. They kind of drive you. You got friends in this business, and they all want to see each other succeed. And if you don't put the work in, you almost feel like you're shorting somebody. First family, friends, the Unleashed Nation family, and then the other hosts that have worked so hard to help you get where you get. Because this business is very hard to find good people in, and when you do find good people in it, you want to hang on to them, and you make sure that you don't do them wrong.
No, that's very true. Because if nothing else, what you discover I've retired. You probably already know I retired in 2016. So I'm back to doing this kind of as a hobby, when before in the 70s it was my job. So it's a little bit more leisurely for me. But to someone, again, I think the bottom line is I recognize a radio professional when I hear one, recognizing and realizing the amount of serious work that goes into the background in order to produce a show like yours. And I want to ask you another question. On our shows, unless you've got somebody in the background that I'm not aware of, it's just us. It's you.
Right.
It's me. We do everything. We do production. Right. We do intros. We do outros. We do audio cuts. We do our own promos. We do our own video if we do video. We do our own background. We do our own social media. We write our own stories. We create everything. And I don't know, do you have a producer? Because I sure as hell don't.
No, I don't have a producer. And one thing I think that gets lost in translation in this business is you have to be a networker, and you have to nurse those relationships. And if you don't, you're not going to have a show. And so that takes up time too. If somebody calls you at 1 o'clock in the morning, you got to take that call, whether, you got kids crying or whatever, you have to take that call.
In my seventh decade, for me to do all of this stuff, I'm a techno-Luddite. That's tough. So, with all of the things that, all of the different directions that happen to pull on you during the day, just as a background, if you had to give a guesstimate, how many hours do you think you're on for 2 hours a day? How long does it take to adequately prep one show for 2 hours? Because I want to give people an idea of what goes into a good quality radio show.
Well, there's days that I only have 4, and those are usually my bad days or bad shows. There are days that I have 15 hours worth of work to do a 2-hour show, and the show actually becomes the fun break. You know, so it really depends. Lately, though, it's been a lot of man hours tracking things down, because, you know, just like I do, when you get a story, you have to verify that story before you can go and tell people about it. You have to make sure that it's the truth, and that can be a real daunting task.
Right, because you have so many people coming at you from, well, social media, the internet, so many sources coming to you from so many directions. Let me throw this out here, though. I would guess, because I don't. The way I run my show is off of a couple of laptops. There's like 5 screens looking at me right now. But I have up here on one laptop, I have 50 tabs lined up. As far as I'm concerned, these days are nothing like a Top Gun reference. It's a target fucking rich atmosphere out there. I have so much more stuff to talk about than I can ever possibly address in a 2-hour show. But it's like the Chinese, may you live in interesting times, which I guess is a Chinese way of saying, well, yeah, bite me. My guess would be, you have so much stuff that you have to go through and sift through in order to come up with a cogent 2-hour show for that day.
Right. Well, I have 3 screens in front of me, 2 mixing boards, DBX, and then a headphone amp. And I usually have those set. And then I've got, one of my computers actually has a split screen, and I'm running the core on each side. So really I have 4 screens plus my phone. And it's hard to keep up on it.
And yeah,
but, you know, after doing it for a while, it's like riding a bike.
Yeah, it's like, good God, even that's not enough sometimes.
Right.
Here's one thing in the process of doing the show, for people that have never been on the show before, I like to do a little bit of background into folks. And I haven't found a whole lot about you. You said that you're married, you have 11 kids.
Right.
Before we get into your background a little bit, let me start with another fundamental question. Why did you start your show? What do you think that you have to say that nobody else really can say, does say, or will say?
No, I think that I have the voice of regular America. And I've always been where, you know, I don't go out of my way to hurt people, but I'm sure not afraid to say something that's on my mind. And what I notice is the mainstream media and, you know, our politicians and all these people that we're supposed to look up to, they have stifled what Americans think, and they've suppressed it and shoved it down, and they've tried to make regular America feel bad or chastise themselves because of their thoughts. And I think that's my connection to the American people, is I will say it because I think it needs to be said. And the other thing is I think that I'm pretty good. I'm pretty perceptive. I have my fingers on the pulse of America, and I can tell that it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. There's good and bad in both of them, and mostly bad in all of them. And I'm not afraid to call out either side.
To me personally, I think that's very admirable. So, Jeremy Hanson, how long has your show been on the air? When did you start your show?
I started it in November of 2016. You know, I was a typical guy. I had been listening to talk radio for a long time. I was an entrepreneur. I owned my own power washing company, and I had done it for years, and I contracted Lyme disease, and I had just beat up my body to the point that I couldn't do it anymore. But during those times, I had routes that I did for power washing, and I'd be in the van and working 14, 15 hours a day. And my wife got me an XM satellite radio, and I was introduced to Mark Levin.
Okay. All right. Now the curtains are parting. Now I'm starting to get it.
Right. So I ended up moving down here to the Ozarks from Wisconsin. The weather was just killing my joints. My wife had family down here. So we came down here, and I literally didn't know what I was going to do. I was in a restaurant, and I was just talking to some old boys at the restaurant, and we were just talking politics. and I walked outside the restaurant, and this guy from a local radio station came out, and he's like, "You got to be on the radio, man. What's your name?" And it was like a week later, I was doing some podcasting, and I would upload my stuff into MP3 and send it to him, and I was going out to probably 40 farmers a night.
Well, you got to start somewhere. Everybody has to start somewhere. And I would agree, and I think that's, you and I already know, there are certain voices and certain persons that you can listen to that will grab your attention. And when that individual said, yeah, we need to get you on the air because of your voice, there are certain people that have voices that lend themselves to radio. I'll be the first one to say, yeah, you got it, dude. So take advantage of it. And you did. And I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. Because my guess would be you're happier doing this today than you were, though I don't know if you're making more money then or now. It's immaterial to me. You know, and that's not my question. But my guess would be you're happier now than you were then. Or am I wrong on that?
You know, I'm always happy if my family's happy.
Okay.
Money has never been a big motivator to me. It's always been about quality of life and things like that. And this does have its advantages, and it has its disadvantages. I mean, I'm pretty sure you know that politics get in the way of political shows. And that is very, very frustrating to me, and I've tried to rise above that, and I'm sure you felt that yourself.
Yeah, there are days when I wake up with venom. I wake up these days with venom in my blood, where I want to see veins between my teeth. And there are days when I feel very, very conciliatory and palatable and whatnot. But it's kind of a weird roller coaster. But I have to say that there's pressure off of me because I don't have to make money doing this as before, like numerous years ago. So doing what you're doing now, does this satisfy an itch for you? Does this satisfy something that's really integral and cerebral and really ingrained in your soul there somewhere? Is this scratching that itch?
Well, I'll tell you, when I had my power washing company, it was called Shimmer. And I had hats made, and they had the American flag, and it said, "We love America" on it. Mm-hmm. And I walked in one day after power washing, and there was this very young millennial at the desk. And she's like, that can be really offensive. And I'm looking at myself like, what are you talking about? And she looked at my hat, and she saw that American flag, and she's like, that patriotism is racist.
Oh,
and it literally floored me. I remember thinking to myself, I've never in my life heard that patriotism is racist, that being pro-America is racist. And I go out, and it dumbfounded me. I had no words. I had nothing to say. And I got in the van, and I turned it on, and I swear it was almost poetic. Mark Levin came on the radio, and the very first thing I heard him say is, "Shut up, I'm educating you." And I was kind of hooked. I was hooked.
I'd also like to ask you, let's see, what do we got? We got about 5 or 6 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. Maybe I can get a couple more in before that, a couple more questions.
Sure.
Ideally, what would you like to see the show become that it isn't now? Or perhaps a better question would be, Jeremy Hanson, where would you like to take your show? Any particular direction that you'd like to take it?
I'm very happy on Mojo. I want to get into podcasting more, and I want to build a base. I've got a plan right now where we're doing this exclusive club on UJHlive.com. And literally, I want 1,000 people, but I don't want 1,000 just anybody. I want 1,000 patriots that are willing to do whatever it takes to win this country back.
Yeah.
And I want to be the hub and the center for these people across America. Like right now, we've got California, Minnesota, Alaska, Indiana, and Maryland. I want to get every state, I'm already pretty much anywhere that you could want to be as far as digital radio. I'm on a few terrestrials down in Georgia and Florida and Texas. But to me, the numbers don't matter. It's the quality of the people that are listening so they can reverberate and aggregate the message.
Sometime in the future, would you be looking, my guess would be you're in your late 30s, somewhere in your 30s, maybe early 40s. Would something like syndication be in your future if you could pull it off?
You know, I don't know. I was syndicated at one time, and it was nothing more than a severe aggravation. And then when you're syndicated, they give you all these rules, and they say, you can't say this, and you can't say that. And I've always kind of wanted to do things my own way, and I see the trend shifting a little bit.
Good for you. Good for you.
I think that you do as well. I see this new group of people, and where other people are looking and saying, you know what, these Gen Zs, they're so liberal. See, I have no problem with being liberal. I just want you to be America-loving and liberal. It's the progressive globalist that I want to destroy, if that makes sense.
A classic liberal, if you look up the definition of a classic liberal, is someone that is held at arm's point and ridiculed today by the Democrat Party. A classic liberal
Amen.
is someone who believes in America. A classic liberal is someone who believes in government, not massive government, but good government. A classic liberal has a lot of elements in congruence with conservatives. And there could be a lot of handshaking across the aisle if we could just get a lot of people back to classic liberalism.
People ask me who a traditional liberal is, and I tell them George Washington.
Okay. All right. Because the other thing is you have to ask yourself this. Are there any real Zell Millers anymore in the Democrat Party? And the answer is no. Are there any more Joe Liebermans in the Democrat Party? And the answer is no.
I'll tell you what, the governor from Louisiana has just impressed the hell out of me.
Okay.
But you never hear anything about him because he is one of those guys. He's doing what the people want, regardless of his own feelings. He's pro-Second Amendment. He's pro-life. But you never hear about him in the news because I think the mainstream media has such a stranglehold on truth that it never gets out.
I am unfamiliar with that man, and if you were to ask me and say, BZ, $1,000 to you if you can name the governor of Louisiana, I couldn't do it.
Well, if I was lying to you, I'd tell you I know his name right now, but I'm looking it up.
Well, while you're doing that, let's go back a bit. What do I got? Okay, I got 2 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. Let's go back a bit, and I'd like to carry this over after the break as well. I couldn't find much about you on the internet, and that could be purposeful. So let me ask a little bit about you. Where were you born, and where did you grow up? In what region of the U.S.?
I was born in Wisconsin, and I grew up in Wisconsin my whole life.
Okay.
Pretty much all over, scatterboarded all over Wisconsin. La Crosse, Wisconsin, I grew up some time, Lake Geneva area. And I absolutely love the state. Prototypical Wisconsin guy. Love the Packers. Was into football, wrestling, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Packer backer for years and years, right here. Bingo.
Nice,
I knew I liked you. I knew it.
I miss some things like food in Wisconsin, Minnesota area, that whole, kind of Nordic settlement area, German. They have such good food. And when you get out of the area, I'll tell you what, you sure do miss it. I mean, fish fries. They don't even know how to cook fish down here in the Ozarks.
Okay, folks, we are listening to Jeremy Hanson of UNLEASHED Jeremy Hanson. He's on Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. And when we come back, I'm going to continue asking Jeremy a little bit more about where he grew up and some of his influences and whatnot. Then after that, when we're through, we are off and running into the politics of the day. And I suspect that, one of the first questions I want to ask is, apolitical? Jeremy Hanson, apolitical? What's he mean about that?
Absolutely.
Let's ask him when he comes back. Folks, I'm BZ, the Bloviating Zeppelin. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. Come right back, please.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the sumptuous and palatial and resplendent, I just threw that in there recently, and resplendent SHR Media Studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California 2, count them, 2 miles east of the Bill Mill, the locus of evil on the entire left coast. That's the Capitol building at 10th and L Street downtown in Sacramento, California, where late at night you can hear the death peals of common sense wailing in the wafting air. And also you can smell the odoriferous stench of sulfur and brimstone emanating from that evil edifice, the Sacramento Capitol building in 10th and L downtown. I'm not kidding when I tell you that it is, in fact, the locus of evil. On all the West Coast and perhaps the United States as well. I don't know that it has already really that many competitors. Folks, we're talking to Jeremy Hanson of Unleashed Jeremy Hanson. And I wanted to ask a little bit about your background. So you grew up in Wisconsin. We found out that we are Green Bay Packer backers together, united in yellow and green. So, as I said, I knew there was something that I really liked about you. I got to ask you this, though. As you grew up, though, you know, kids sometimes know what they want to do or be. Was there something that just sprang eternal from the Jeremy Hanson breast and just saying to you, this is what I got to do as an adult? And did you do it?
You know, I remember the teacher asking me that question, and literally all I knew is I wanted a lot of kids. And I absolutely did that. You know, I moved out, you know, when I was a teenager, I thought I knew everything. And I moved out of my dad's house right at the end of me being 16. And, of course, I got a girl knocked up, and I just turned 17. And I was a kid. I had a Roadrunner. I was a Hellraiser, you know. I actually went to court one time, and the judge called me a nonconformist. And it kind of set the tone for my life. You know, when I was 17, I lied on an application to get my very first job as a welder. And I literally, until I got sick, it was 10 to 14 hours a day, every day. And to me, that wasn't out of the norm because that's the way my grandparents were. That's the way my mom and dad were.
Okay.
They were just very, very hard workers, and you just dealt with whatever life gave you. And that's kind of how I grew up.
Talk about your education and or your military experience, if you have any of that there. Although I don't know the answer, but I think I suspect the answer, but I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Well, you know, unfortunately, I was not able to get into the armed service. I've done other things. I was in martial arts for a while, and we've done, you know, defense training and stuff like that for the military. My father, he still does that kind of stuff once in a while. I have two sons, one that was in the Marines, and he's out going to college now, and I've got another one in the Air Force right now in Italy.
Oh, God bless them. You bet.
Well, thank you. I've got another son that in December, now you got to remember, I was a Hellraiser. I mean, I was a Hellraiser. So my son in Italy, he's working with kind of like the cop service. He's kind of like, how do I say it without getting in trouble?
Air police?
He's in a unit that goes in and he grabs terrorists and they jerk the terrorists out of there.
Okay.
So he's kind of like in law enforcement in the Air Force, the JCs, I think they call them.
Okay.
And then my other son, like I said, he's going to be a cop in December. So it's kind of odd. You know, I was the Hellraiser, but through that, my kids have went down the other path. And, you know, they know how to be men, and that's number one. It's weird. I don't talk a lot of politics with my kids, but I have this feeling they feel a lot the same way I do.
What I was going to say in anticipation of that, especially after hearing that you wanted to be a welder at such a young age and kind of cribbed about your age when you were doing that, is you already had possessed or ingrained with you a work ethic that so few people have, and my response was going to be, I bet Jeremy Hanson says that essentially he went to the University of Hard Knocks. Am I far off?
You know, I wouldn't say no, that that's not the case, but, you know, everybody's got a cross to bear, and thank goodness that my parents and grandparents instilled into me that you can't be a whiny little bitch. You got to pull up your pants and you got to put your life down because it's all up to you. And I think for that every single day.
You're a conservative now. Were you always that way?
You know, I hate to use the word conservative because they've hijacked that word.
Yeah. Well, okay, what word would you use then?
I would like to say pro-American.
Okay.
You know, conservatives, I've got a little bit of libertarian, a little bit of liberal, a lot of conservative in me. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I think that if you're an American, you have your bills paid, and you're acting like a responsible adult, I could care less if you want to sit around a campfire and smoke a doobie with your buddies. Could care less.
Okay. All righty. Well, you sure as hell can do that in California.
Well, exactly. And it will be around the rest of the country. But there's a difference. Like I said, if you're one of those people that are taking care of business, I mean, I've seen way too many families where the mom and dad, they got money to go buy a 25 bag, but they don't have milk and cereal for their kids. So, you know, they're on food stamps and, you know, there's a difference. And I'd like to be that little bit of flame of knowledge and common sense.
I'm starting to get a sense of what you are and who you are, but I noticed in some of your promotions, you say that you are apolitical. Now, when you say you're apolitical, I say that if I have to put a label on me, I say I'm a conservatarian. If
I like that.
If you were, because I'm little L libertarian, I get really pissed off when my privacy is invaded, and so much of it occurs so frequently these days. So that's kind of the libertarian aspect of me, and a couple of other things as well. But when you say you're apolitical in your promos, give us a sense of what it is you're trying to say there.
Okay, so for the longest time, I have watched America rip itself to shreds because they want to point out the other side that's wrong. And I'm here to tell you, I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care if you're a Democrat, most of them are evil. Most of them are not working for us. Being apolitical means you want to distance yourself away from the BS and put yourself in a position where you can see clearly or be woke about what's really going on in the world. So apolitical, my whole design of everything I'm trying to show people is the Republicans do the exact same things the Democrats do to us, just in a different way. You know, they both tell us, we're going to do this for you, and then nothing gets done. The one thing that they all have in common, though, the Republicans and the Democrats, they all get to enrich themselves. They all become rich off the backs of dancing on the American people, and I'm sick of it. That's why I'm apolitical.
The other thing that I get sick of is, and I have a phrase for it, I am sick of having our rights removed, our privileges, our liberties, and our freedoms removed, and then sold back to us by the government.
Amen.
And yes. I find that incredibly despicable. Now, you make mention of both sides of the aisle being complicit in a number of things, and I would completely agree. What did we really do for the country, for example, when, let's see, the last time was under Bush, when we held the Oval Office, the House, and the Senate, and the answer is really not a hell of a lot. And
nothing.
Do you think, Jeremy Hanson, that if we had, let's say, mandatory E-Verify advocated, pushed, and acquired by, I don't know, the Republicans, do you think that would minimize the tendency for illegals to come into America? My guess would be yes, but did we ever see any of the Republicans do anything like that? I think we could have had that by now, but I didn't see that. Did you see that? Did I miss it?
I didn't see that, and you know what? I'll tell you this: we will have a Democrat that puts in E-Verify before a Republican.
You might be correct. Okay, my brain is going so many places, and I have like 45 tabs that are up regarding questions and topics and things like that. Let me ask you this. I've got you for the first hour until the top of the hour. I don't know your schedule, but let me ask you this, because we haven't really delved into politics, and there's so much to talk about. Oh, my God. Would you be terribly offended if I suggested that you might stay over from the top of the hour and as much time as you might be considering of donating to the second hour? Because there's a ton of stuff I'd like to talk about. Okay. Because I feel bad. I just asked you for the first hour, and I look at the clock, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, I haven't even touched this, or this, or this, or this, or this. Okay, so.
Hey, time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, it does. I say 2 hours. I look at my watch. I start the show. I look at my watch again. I'm thinking, where did 2 hours go? I listened to your show about Epstein 2 days ago. I haven't listened to yours today, but I did listen to yours on Monday, and you spoke at length about Epstein. Billionaire Jeffrey Epstein, who was arrested and charged with sex trafficking. You made a ton of salient points that I don't think people realize about Jeffrey Epstein that some folks were making, and I remember this from many years ago. I heard rumors of a Lolita Express, and I can remember distinctly at the time people were saying, Lolita Express, that's not happening. And anybody that you're accusing of that, no, that doesn't happen, that can't happen here. And now it looks like we're turning out that was complete and utter bullshit, that wasn't happening under our noses. So because you had such great insights on this, let's start with Jeffrey Epstein in terms of, were you, gosh, there's so many places I could go. Number one, were you surprised that this even happened? Let's start with that.
No, as a matter of fact, I'm here to say we have just touched the tip of the iceberg with the elites and what they've done to children. I did research about this before I ever did my show. And I used to belong to some two-wheeled persuasion, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
And they did a lot of work with this, where they would go get kids that were in bad situations. And it became important to me because I actually watched people in law enforcement that their hands were tied and they couldn't do anything. So their last resort was to call supposedly their enemies, and their enemies would go deal with the stuff that they couldn't. And I thought, you know what? If it is bad enough that law enforcement has to call the whatever you want to call them,
yeah,
this has got to be a bad, serious situation.
We're also discovering that, you weren't surprised then that this occurred.
No.
You're just thinking that this was finally a culmination of everything that you'd been hearing for at least a couple of years.
Correct. And if you go throughout history, this isn't uncommon. This is just part of the human condition.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I've said this a number of times. I retired in 2016 after 41 years in law enforcement. One of those, a number of years that I spent was in child abuse. One of the things that I learned while being trained there was that pedophiles they're a class unto themselves. And if you think that you can chemically castrate a pedophile in any fashion, that's absolutely wrong. That's incorrect. You may slice off or remove certain pieces and parts from a human body, absolutely immaterial, because the motivation lives within the mind. And unless you can do something with the mind, which predominantly you cannot, then they're going to, their predilections will continue. That said, in terms of history, Arthur C. Clarke, who was the inventor of the satellite, a British guy who was a brilliant science fiction author, wrote 2001, Childhood's End, and a whole host of other science fiction books, ended up a sexual tourist to what then was Ceylon, and then it changed to Sri Lanka because he had a predilection for boys and scuba diving. So sexual tourism like this is something that's been going on for quite some time. It's a hierarchy and a world of shadows unto itself. So this is nothing new. I'm just kind of surprised that after this period of time that it did occur, and then, oh God, what did I see? There was a brilliant little thing on Facebook. Somebody did a parody, and it was from @Bill Clinton, and the thing written, the tweet from Bill Clinton was, "I was devastated to learn about the impending suicide of my dear friend Jeffrey Epstein."
Right.
But there's a lot of truth in that.
There is, and with your background, I did a little bit of background checks, and so wink, wink, you know what I'm saying. But the founder of the FBI had a little bit of this problem himself.
He did with his number 2 man,
right?
Air quotes.
And and it goes far beyond that. I mean, here's the thing: when it comes to today, and if you're gay or you're transgender or whatever you want to be, I am cool with whatever you want to do, whatever you want to be in your bedroom. The problem I have is when you have a power issue in your head and you have to push your power on somebody else because of that lack of nothingness in your soul. I believe that's really the real problem. And I don't think there's any fixing that. I think that there are some people that are put here that are evil to the core and you can't fix it. And if it was up to me, this is my opinion, I would have a mass hanging of pedophiles across the nation for about 10 years straight, and I would publicly show them to say, this is what happens when you mess with our children and our elderly.
The problem with that, and I cannot say that fundamentally I do not disagree, because I've seen there's a phrase in child abuse, is that everyone who abuses was abused, but everyone who was abused will not necessarily abuse themselves, if that makes any sense. But if you break down the sentence, it makes a whole lot of sense. There's a lot of background in people's lives, but in terms of can a person with that kind of a predilection be fixed or repaired, I know of nothing to date which indicates that you can. The sinister aspect of all of this is that the LGBT crowd is now attempting to grab and pull in and attempting to norm pedophilia. That, I think, is a grand... That is obviously not only a disservice, but that is going to be a serious mistake if they decide that they're going to do that. But back to Epstein, now that he's arrested. Sure. All across the Northeast Corridor and the rest of the United States, do you think that there are a fleet of personnel, Jeremy Hanson, whose sphincters are absolutely watertight tonight, fretting and sweating over what it is that may occur in their future?
Yes, and I hope they have terrible nightmares. I hope they have cold sweats. I hope that they have constant migraines. Some of these people are the worst of the worst. Let's take it back about a year and a half ago. Do you remember Mr. Schneiderman, the head law enforcement agent of the state of New York?
The name sounds familiar. Okay, elucidate me.
Okay, so this guy, now the word pedophile around him has been used in many circles, and he got caught with 2 18-year-old prostitutes he rearranged one's breast augmentation and broke another one's jaw at his secret apartment with a sex dungeon in it because he was beating on them so bad. Now, keep in mind, this is the top cop in New York. This is the guy that they said was going to take down Donald Trump. After these girls went to the cops, the politicians went to these girls and said, please, don't press charges. Don't do this. He is our best shot getting rid of Donald Trump. And when I listened to that and I thought about that, I thought, you know what? Common sense, dignity, justice in this country is frickin' gone because of politics.
Now that you mention that and that name, yeah, you're absolutely right. I remember that he was associated with that. On the other hand,
right.
Here's also what I see as occurring right now, and we got about 4 more minutes before the top of the hour. We'll carry this over the top of the hour, folks. Oh, damn! I forgot to tell you, folks. If you want to call, give me a call. I know you can be listening live. If you're listening later in podcast, I'm sorry that won't happen. And for the folks in chat, I got a ton of people in chat tonight. I really appreciate. Call at, if you want to talk to Jeremy Hanson, 209-284-3210. 209-284-3210. For those of you just tuned in, 209-284-3210. And we'll continue. The line will be open now and for the rest of the hour as well. So give us a blast. I found an article called How Pedophiles Silently Took Over Social Media. I'm not sure that you or other people are aware of the designations called MAPs and no MAPs. MAPs are minor attracted people. Well, minor attracted people, folks, the real name for them is pedophile. Okay, they've been present all over the internet, even in the 90s when I was in child abuse. NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association, was predominant in terms of fighting pedophiles back then, back in the day. But now, if you can acquire an acronym and minimize the effect of something like that, now we have MAPs who are minor attracted people and no MAPs who are, they won't act on it. And please. Okay, hey, Jeremy, I've got somebody that's calling in. I believe this is Kaiser. Kaiser, how do you do? And do you have a question, sir?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to know if you guys had seen, either one of you, that there was a rainbow flag that was burned in New York, and it's being investigated as a hate crime. Although you're still allowed to burn Old Glory. That's perfectly fine and normal. Think about that. Think about how twisted that's gotten.
That's one of any number of things that we're going to be talking about in the second hour. But yeah, it's absolutely twisted. Like I say, MAP is an acronym for minor attracted people. No MAPs. I was slightly mistaken. A no MAP is a non-offending minor attracted person. So now the distinction is becoming a MAP, a minor attracted person. That's a pedophile, folks. And a no MAP is, well, I live in this spot in my brain, but I'm not offending and I'm not going to offend. And my answer to that is, really? You can guarantee me and anyone else that you are a true, non-offending pedophile. Jeremy, your thought on that?
You know, I've heard people tell me that, this is a non-aggressive poisonous snake.
Right. Right.
And that's kind of my feelings on that in a nutshell.
Yeah. Right. It's like the story that the frog rode on the back of the rattlesnake, and when he got him across the river, the rattlesnake bit him and died. And in his last breath, the frog said, "Why did you bite me? You swore to me you wouldn't." And the rattlesnake said, "Well, I don't know. That's what I do. I'm a rattlesnake." Well, that's what pedophiles do, folks.
Did you see the craziness that happened in Texas? I mean, they've literally investigated, they had that transgender reading room for kids and whatnot at these libraries.
No.
And,
right.
Oh, yeah.
How wonderful.
And they were running plates on these dudes who were using aliases. They're mostly all convicted pedophiles.
Wonderful.
Just think about that.
Wonderful.
Our tax dollars at work. I'll let you go, BZ.
Okay. Hey, Kaiser, if after the break, if you want to call back, that's fine too, but thanks for calling in.
All right. God bless.
God bless.
Bye.
Take care, sir. We're going to take a break. We're talking to Jeremy Hanson of the Unleashed Jeremy Hanson Show. We'll be right back after this, and we're going to continue with Epstein because there are some things in the future, and there are some other aspects of Epstein that Jeremy Hanson addressed on his show on Monday, and I'd like to talk to him about that. Folks, I'm BZ, the Bloviating Zeppelin. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network at shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes the show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's hour 2 of the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. And I gotta say, welcome back. You know, you can follow me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. You can like me and follow me on my Facebook page, Bloviating Zeppelin, or Biff Zeppy. You can follow me, and like me on the SHR Media Facebook page, and subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. Click notifications, give our videos a thumbs up. Great hosts, great videos, and great shows. I'm also, I should care to point out, on Big Sarge Media as well, and I'm broadcasting live right there, simulcasting right now on the Big Sarge Media Facebook page. So friend and like me and follow Big Sarge right there. I suggest this. Let's rock this media world and move me out of the category of best late night conservatarian talk show that you've never heard of. Okay, so make my dogs, make Clyde the Bobcat, for example, and Demi the studio cat. Make them really proud of me, if you will. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. And we're talking to Jeremy Hanson of UNLEASHED JEREMY HANSON, who has been kind enough to acquiesce and say that he will be here for the entire second hour. We're talking about 66-year-old financier Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, who was arrested on sex charges. I have not seen the affidavit. He's charged with sex trafficking. There have been rumors that this has been going on for quite some time, years and years. The little kerfuffle part of this was back in 2008, Jeffrey Epstein found himself sentenced to 13 months in prison, and he was required in some fashion, the likes of which I do not know, to, I guess, air quotes, settle with his then teenage victims, and he had to be an RSO, which is a registered sex offender. And apparently he was facing life in prison. Didn't do that. The new charges accuse him of sex trafficking minors between 2002 and 2005 by paying them cash for massages, air quotes, and sexually abusing them in his New York apartment, his Palm Beach residence. And several, apparently, of his associates allegedly recruited girls, and some victims became, imagine this, groomed and then recruiters themselves. So you had a really in-depth look at this, Jeremy Hanson, and you had some other things that I would like people to hear about some of the insight that you possess regarding Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, I would go on and I would say the most important thing that I think people can look at, and the mainstream media is completely misdirecting us on it, is Doug Band. Doug Band was on the flight manifestos that were released 65% of the time. Doug Band was Bill Clinton's right-hand man. He set up the however you want to say it. He also set up the Clinton Foundation. And he went to 125 different countries. Now, if you have, how should I put this? If you have people that tell you information from other countries, they can specifically point out that, hey, this guy was going around doing dirty deals, and he was riding with Epstein. And Epstein is in the middle of all this, but the people that were around Epstein, the ones that he surrounded himself with, is the reason that he's never done hard time before.
Well, it's I'm told, I do not know, that his list is a who's who of a lot of powerful people, which is why last hour I said, can you imagine how many sphincters are absolutely watertight, even more effectively so than any U.S. submarine imaginable, and what their futures, what they're thinking about their futures may entail? To me, I find that kind of glorious at minimum because of the damage done to all of these people. But now we know that somehow...
No, I agree with that.
Somehow in there, though, is Bill Clinton. And how is it that Bill Clinton is somehow aligned with this?
I'll tell you what, Bill Clinton is aligned with scum of the earth from everywhere. When you start looking in the background of Bill Clinton and the Doug Bands of the world and the Rahm Emanuels of the world and the Podesta brothers.
Podestas, yes.
You start finding that these people are working with the mob. They're working with the cabal. They're working with different paramilitary groups all across the world that go and do their dirty deeds. And what you find with these Clinton global initiatives is not only did they set up, and I'm going to say it right here, not only did they set up a worldwide global human trafficking network, they were also getting kickbacks through these Clinton global initiatives where they would enrich their friends, and their friends in turn, by setting up these companies, would kick money back into the DNC.
I would suggest, and I have before, that the Clinton Foundation is a prototypical FBI RICO investigation. It's demanding a RICO investigation. Now, who will have the guts to do that? Will it be any of the alphabet agencies, the FBI or the DOJ? What I think is this, and I want your response, Jeremy Hanson, and then we've got a person who's waiting on the line to talk to us on the phone. I think there's something, and this may be that something, but I think in the back of our brain housing groups, we have all realized that there is a something that will occur that will be the straw on the camel's back, the breaking dam, and once some kind of a singular important event occurs, then I think the curtain will be parted and you'll find a flood of people and a flood of information coming in and essentially verifying what it is that we've suspected all along. Could this, the Epstein arrest, Jeremy Hanson, be that index case, if you will, that will create a massive tsunami swamping tons of people?
I hope that it is, and it definitely can. The door is open, but I'll tell you a couple of the issues that I see with it already.
Okay.
James Comey, he's been involved with this. He's been involved in cover-ups already. James Comey's daughter is one of the prosecutors on the case against Epstein. When you look at the RICO, you take somebody like James Comey. Well, the last time they were federally ordered to have an audit of the Clinton Foundation, James Comey's brother did the audit. So, there's all these little connections everywhere.
Yeah, lovely little breadcrumbs that are occurring all over the place. Tell you what, let's go to the phone, and I think we have Mike. I'm not sure. Mike, is that you, and are you there?
That's me, BZ, and I am here. And the guy you were looking for earlier was John Bell Edwards, is the governor from the state of Louisiana here.
Oh, okay, that's right. You're in Louisiana. Amen. And that's the name of the guy that Jeremy was indicating was a pretty cool dude, and actually has his hat situated properly.
He has been making noise about running for Democrat, running for president on a Democrat, but the problem for him is he's way too conservative.
Too conservative for the GOP is what you're saying.
No, too conservative for the Democrats. To run for president for the Democrats. He's a Democrat.
Oh, okay. Oh, my God. How did that happen? Mike, how did you let that happen? It's your fault.
I don't know. I didn't vote for him.
But you're saying that he's not going anywhere because he's, would he be what we discussed earlier in the first hour as a classic liberal? Kind of sounds like that's what you're saying.
Well, yeah, that's what he is. If you go and read his thing, he's pro-gun and pro-life.
Okay, well, guess what, Mike? He's not going anywhere. Certainly not under a Democrat ticket. You know, it's
no way.
Jeremy Hanson, let me ask you this, because this just pops into my brain. In 2010, John McCain had the ability and was threatening the GOP to become a Democrat. Of all the things that I've said, and none have been terribly complimentary about John McCain, one of the things that I said for a long time, up until the day that he passed away, and now, is that I just wish John McCain and anybody else had just been honest with me and changed his R to a D, and then I would have been able to easily proffer the respect for him that I did not give to him when he was alive and or dead. It's like this gentleman that Mike is talking about in Louisiana. Does he actually think he's going to go anywhere under the auspices of a D after his name?
Are you asking me that or Mike?
Yes, both of you. Is he going to go anywhere? Does he have the capability of going anywhere?
Here's what I see, and you can take it for what you want.
Okay.
But Trump is no Republican.
Oh, no.
Trump
no.
is not a Democrat.
No.
Trump is an American-loving, level-headed, normal guy that he does have a little bit of narcissism to him, but guess what? I happen to enjoy it. It feels good. Every time he comes out on Twitter and he says something, and either side, I don't care, they don't like it, I feel like, thank you, Donald Trump. That was a punch thrown just for me, and I get it. And I think guys like what we're watching with Bell down there, if the mainstream media would give them one shot, that they would light America on fire. Because here you have a pro-American that says he's a Democrat, but he's a Kennedy Democrat, and he's pro what the people want. He's actually doing what the people want. And that's a big difference. As far as an R and a D, I'll give you an example. Abortion. One of the reasons that I was a big Republican, I don't believe in abortion.
Okay.
But yet, at the House, we've had the Senate. We had the House, the Senate, and the President. And guess what? Planned Parenthood is still funded.
Yes.
It's a charade. It's a lie.
It is a charade. It's a lie. It's like I said years ago when I first started this show, and also when I started my blog in 2004. Here's what happens at the end of the day. Both sides of the aisle walk across the street to the Hawk and Dove bar, and they pat the hell out of each other and say, we really screwed over the American public today. And then they knock drinks together, and they get drunk so that they can do it the very next day and have a wonderful weekend and get paid very well for it. Although AOC says that $174,000 a year is apparently, that's not really a living wage.
You know, that is such a slap in the face to regular America.
Yeah.
You know, these mothers and fathers and men and women across this country that bust their ass, and they're lucky if they make $50,000, $60,000 a year, and then they come home and they have to listen to this little whiny, spoiled brat tell the world that, well, it's not even like a raise. I mean, we have to have it. The thing, I mean, it makes you want to puke.
How can you trust somebody that doesn't know what a garbage disposal is? You know, that's AOC. She doesn't even know what a garbage disposal is. You know, that's.
Well, let me ask both of you guys this: name a politician that we have right now that has paid an electric bill in the last year. Just give me one that doesn't have some CPA that handles all their bills.
Oh, that's like the prototypical question given. I think it was George H.W. Bush was given this question. He couldn't answer it because they tried to nail him, and they said, "Okay, George, how much is a quart of milk? How much is a loaf of bread?" He didn't know. Why would he know? He doesn't have any answer. He doesn't do that. He has peeps to go and do that stuff. We are our own peeps to do that stuff.
Here's something else you didn't know. What's the other big thing that's going on around here with the sex stuff? Is the NXIVM sex cult? It's come out recently that there are ties between NXIVM and Epstein. You know.
Okay, one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on tonight, and thanks for that, Mike, I really appreciate it. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on tonight is that I admittedly, Jeremy Hanson, I don't know much about this case at all. I only know a little bit about what I heard. I have a 5-minute audio cut that I'd like you and everybody else to listen to, and this ought to take us mostly down to the bottom of the hour. But it's somebody discussing about Bill Clinton flying on what Epstein apparently, or somebody somehow it caught this phrase, the Lolita Express. And it would seem that a lot of people are pointing fingers at Clinton for having indulged in this. So I'd like to play this audio cut. And then, Jeremy Hanson, I'd like to have your thoughts and opinions afterwards on this.
Investigative journalist Conchita Sarnoff joins us now. She's been covering this case since the beginning. She's also author of the book Trafficking and the executive director at Alliance to Rescue Victims of Trafficking. Conchita, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Shannon, for having me.
You raised an interesting point in your research that it's the then state's attorney for Palm Beach County is the one that doesn't get as much attention, but he was a critical player here, so much concerning to the then chief of police there in Palm Beach County that he actually put together this response and sent it. He referred it to the FBI saying we need the feds to get involved because somehow there's so much pressure on this county state's attorney that we don't think this is going anywhere.
Absolutely, Shannon. You know, this is my biggest question, and I don't understand why no one is pointing fingers at. And
okay, I need to make plain. This is a gal on a Fox show called Conchita Sarnoff. And she's evidently the author of a book called Trafficking, and it's about human trafficking.
Actually explaining why Barry Kersher cut the deal that he cut. The onus fell on the state attorney's office. As you know, after the chief of police, Michael Ritter, whom I spoke to at length for many, many years since I started the investigation back in 2009, Ritter said to me many times, I did not accept Kersher's deal. He wanted to charge him with a misdemeanor, no jail time, no restitution, and no registration as a sex offender. Then he took the case. Ritter takes the case to the feds.
The police chief.
Yes, Michael Ritter, the Palm Beach police chief, takes the case to the feds. That's when Acosta comes in. That's not until 2006. And so Acosta and his team, with Villafana and others, they start to investigate. That takes 2 years. There's a 53-page indictment against Epstein. But what happens? Well, we're getting close to the 2008 presidential campaign. Hillary Clinton is the Democratic shoo-in at the time. President Obama was still not at the forefront. And so I believe, given the information that I have and what I've read, that at the very top of the food chain, they did not want to make, as the Attorney General said to me when I interviewed him, Alberto Gonzalez, they did not want to make a political mess. So they basically tapped Acosta again, which is also why they hired Ken Starr and Jay Lefkowitz, who were the two.
Lots of high-profile names involved in this thing.
Absolutely. They were the two attorneys who negotiated the plea deal, meaning the non-prosecution agreement that was handed to Epstein, which, by the way, was not in order, as Acosta told me, because I have been speaking to Acosta for many years since the original investigation and the original arrest in 2005.
Well, let me ask you this, because tonight President Clinton has spoken out and said, I want to make it clear that there was some travel with him, there was always Secret Service.
Right. I did not have sex with that woman, Ms. Lewinsky. Are you buying any of this so far, Jeremy Hanson?
No. You know, it's such a cover-up, and it is so blatant in front of us. It's a slap in the face to the American people.
It is.
But, you know, for a long time, they've been able to get away with it because of the seething anger that they have created between this political madness that we have going on. These two sides that want to get at each other's throats so bad. I've heard people say they don't care if a pedophile, a murderer, they don't care what they did. They just don't want Donald Trump in. And that kind of reflects what we're watching here.
Yes, it does. It's so beyond human ken. It's beyond what you would think the capability of any rational thinking human being. There's more audio, and I want to play it.
Brief meetings, people who are trying to tie the two of them together, just like there were people tonight trying to tie Epstein to President Trump, that those are unfair leaps in logic.
Okay, let's stop right there. This is a point that you made on your show yesterday where people are attempting to tie President Trump to this bullshit. And you made a very salient point about Trump and this instance. And what was that?
Well, it's one that Trump did have a professional relationship with him. You can't deny that.
No, correct.
Epstein is one of the elite financiers of these buildings all around the world, so you can't deny that. But Donald Trump is the only person ever that went and filed a police report and threw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago when he found out that he was trying to solicit underage girls. Now, you don't see that in the news anywhere, especially Monday. You didn't hear none of that.
That's true. That is absolute true. And again, that's another reason that, folks, you got to listen to Unleashed Jeremy Hanson. You would have found this out yesterday. This is why I'm glad that I've got him on the show today. Let's continue with this audio cut because already, of course, Trump, they're attempting to pull Trump into this massive developing hurricane and smear him as best they can.
Clinton say.
Right.
I have read too much information, and I have spoken to too many people on the inside. I actually attempted to interview Clinton, but he did not agree to do so. And I know from the pilot logs, and these are pilot logs that, were written by different pilots and at different times, that Clinton he was a guest of Epstein's 27 times.
27
now, you
times.
tell me, Doug Bands was also on the plane many times. Many of those times...
the guy you mentioned, Doug Bands, right?
Yep, right.
Clinton had his Secret Service with him, and many times he did not. Almost every time that Clinton's name is on the pilot logs, there are underage girls. There are initials, and there are names of many, many girls on that private plane. So you have to ask yourself, and this is what I asked myself, why would anyone, not only a former president, fly on a plane 27 times that did not belong to him?
Okay, so the statement from his office or his spokesperson...
Okay, let me stop there just for a second. You may know the answer, Jeremy Hanson. I do not, and I confess this readily. Where were they going? Were they going to any particular countries, specifically one central country, a bunch of countries? I'm not sure where they went.
Well, there's a whole bunch of different flights. She's talking specifically about going to the U.S. Virgin Islands, where he owned his orgy island.
Okay. All righty. So that was then apparently the major place that they were going, the Virgin Islands?
The Virgin Islands, there was also some trips in there that they went around the world for building summits together. And what you find is some people say that Donald Trump was on the plane. He hasn't denied that he was on the plane, but that jet was used to put a bunch of people, financiers and builders, to go to places like Dubai also.
Okay. All right. And that makes perfect sense because that's the world in which Jeffrey Epstein, that's where he puttered about back then. Folks, we're going to take a break. I've got somebody on the phone that wants to talk. We're going to take a break. We're talking to Jeremy Hanson of Unleashed Jeremy Hanson. After the break, we will be right back. I'm BZ. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Won't we?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's the final 25, what I call the final 25 minutes in the show. We have had the distinct honor and pleasure of having Jeremy Hanson from Unleashed Jeremy Hanson on the show tonight. Very live. Some lively phone calls as well. I was playing an audio cut that I want to finish out here. I think it's got about maybe roughly about another minute left, where an author was talking about how Bill Clinton was on the Lolita Express.
Spokesman tonight says he knows nothing about the terrible crimes that Epstein pleaded guilty to in Florida some years ago, or those which he's recently been charged with in New York. He goes on to talk about he took a total of 4 trips with him. He had Secret Service, he had detail, he once had a meeting with him in his office. He had
Now, let me stop there just a second. Jeremy Hanson, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in an article, I think I saw a log which included the words Bill Clinton and or Secret Service or staff or something like that. Did you happen to see those logs?
Yes, actually multiple times. And if you look closer, he was on there multiple times with underage girls that are also on the manifesto.
You know, let's back up a little bit, folks. Do people remember, and I'll wager you do, Jeremy Hanson, when the situation occurred where the Arkansas State Troopers were also witness to a whole bunch of crazy things that were occurring with Bill Clinton when he was governor of Arkansas?
Right.
Is Bill Clinton now saying something or thinking something similar to, oh, my God, what are the Secret Service agents now going to say? Because Bill Clinton wouldn't be stupid enough to do something silly, stupid, or fattening in front of Secret Service agents, would he?
Well, I don't know. You know, I would love to start out with the 11 Secret Service agents that are dead that used to work for him. I'd like to start there, but unfortunately we can't do that. But he's done a lot of stupid stuff in front of them. He's asked them to lie to Hillary. And we can take this back. They're serial human haters. If you remember, Hillary, his wife, represented a pedophile.
Yes. As a matter of fact, you're right. She
remember,
represented a rapist.
About it.
Didn't she? She represented a rapist, did she not?
She did, and she laughed about it after she got him off. She was 12 years old, and she laughed about it.
That's right. I'm sorry. This is the point, because it's my show where I get to extract the vitriol, despiction, and disdain that I have for the Clintons, who I seriously believe. And this is not me trying to be snarky or vicious. I truly believe that both Bill and Hillary Clinton are evil people. I truly believe they are evil.
I do too. I don't think you can look at it any other way and say that they're not, because anytime their name is involved in doing something good, there's always a back avenue where it comes. Now, I haven't been able to nail this down, but I'm telling you, Hillary Clinton's brother that died 2 weeks ago, I do believe that he was poisoned at direction of the Clintons because of things he knew about the children in Haiti that Epstein was all involved in.
Oh, that in and of itself was a kerfuffle. And let me stop just for a moment. I didn't know that Hillary Clinton's brother, air quotes, passed away a few weeks ago. I honestly did not know that, Jeremy Hanson.
Yes, he did. I believe he was in Canada. Now, if you follow that story back, we find another person that comes into the fold named Jorge Torres. And Jorge Torres was a friend of Bill Clinton that happened to be an international attorney from El Salvador. Now, how they're connected is CIA members that were actually friends with Epstein, friends with the Clintons, were having parties down in Panama, and Jorge Torres sent them underage prostitutes. Now, since then, Jorge Torres actually went to prison along with his wife for human trafficking. Now, the funny part, to kind of make this come full circle, is Jorge Torres was delivering goods and having a certain Stephen Paddock of Vegas at Paradise Ranch move things for him around the world. I think people can put two and two together.
Whoa. Okay, stop. Back up that car wash.
Okay.
Jeremy Hanson, let me process that for a second. You're indicating that you believe there's some kind of a nexus between Stephen Paddock, the guy that shot in the triple digits, a number of people in Las Vegas during the country music show and killed people in the double digits, at least 50, if I'm not mistaken. And what was that nexus you indicated between him and the other event?
Now, Jorge Torres and his wife, Aliano, I believe is how you pronounce it, were trafficking young girls all over the world. And some of the destination points that they would traffic to, they all had business names. And one of the business names was Paradise Ranch in the Philippines. Well, if you do your homework, what you find is Stephen Paddock and his girlfriend owned a Paradise Ranch next to an airport in the Philippines. Jorge Torres is in prison for child trafficking, and they're all connected to Doug Band and Bill Clinton. Jorge Torres is actually the one that represented Laura Silsby when they caught her trying to take the 33 Haitian children out of Haiti.
This is such an incredibly interwoven, but most everything is these days, an interwoven, corrupt, dovetailed sequence of events such that I've got to wonder how it is that people have managed to keep this so quiet for so long. Kaiser, you're calling. Thank you ever so much for waiting. Do you have a question or an interjection, sir? I didn't, Kaiser. I swear to God, I didn't know this. I didn't know this.
Well, I got a quick synopsis. I mean, we talked on 7/7, which remember I tried to get a hold of you on the 6th, and you were going out, and we did discuss just about everything on that we're talking about tonight. The thing that I'll tell you is, a lot of people forget. You got to go back to the Franklin scandal. McCain was caught up in that. That's a fact. And look how long it took for the Franklin scandal to come out. Now you're looking at this. He's exactly right. One of Hillary Clinton's best buds, a female, was caught smuggling kids out of Haiti. Guess what? She changed her name. She's still working for some human rights thing for children. And somebody, I think the Alaskan, put it in the thing saying arrested. Yeah, arrested, but never got sex offender status. She does not have sex, and she changed her last name. And she still works for him. And so the thing about it is, this has been going on for quite a while. Nobody's has talked about it. Me and you have. I'm sure. I'm sorry, I dropped your name, Jeremy. Jeremy Hanson.
Jeremy.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sure you know about all this stuff, but you follow the dots, connect the dots. The Secret Service agents, somebody was saying Dan Bongino knew all this stuff about it, and he sent a text to somebody, but he said, no, there's other agents that know stuff about it, and he was not going to give up who they were because they have to come forward on their own. It's an honor thing, and they will. But just like he said, there's been state troopers that are killed. They've been Secret Service agents that are killed. We lost an entire SEAL team because of Hillary Clinton. That was a purposeful setup on Extortion 17. And I knew one of the guys. He was a dog handler by the name of Dwayne Duangaro. And I met him as a contractor. So the thing is, this stuff is all interconnected with the Mexican mafia. You got the Arkansas mafia. And that's really what it is. And this is a power play going on for the deep state to stay in power. And they are trying to bring Trump into this. And Trump has he took a flight going to New York from Florida to his business. And Jeremy was exactly right. Mr. Hanson was right when he said that he caught he got wind from I think it was a maid or something who witnessed, just one of his regular workers witnessed Epstein groping young girls, and then she told Trump, and not only did he kick him out, he barred him from ever coming back to Mar-a-Lago. So, I mean, all this stuff, the Alaskan was exactly spot on. The Republicans and Democrats, also K Street, the Pentagon, and other world leaders. And we touched on this a little bit, too. There was a reason why Mike Flynn was brought in. He used to be the former head of DIA. You think he didn't know all about this stuff? You think he didn't serve his purpose before he got... Why do you think Obama wanted him out so bad? That was the first target. So there's a lot going on that I really can't get into.
Kaiser,
but, you know.
I'm pretty sure that you know about this as well, because this is part of the Epstein thing that nobody's talking about. But have you guys ever heard the name of Chao Duarte Sadat?
No, but didn't you mention that individual in your show on Monday?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I haven't yet.
Then
and
where
we're going to bring this out.
Okay, where does that come from then?
Okay, this is the Brazilian, what they call John of God, okay? The person, the whistleblower that actually brought John of God. Now, keep in mind, Doug Band, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Oprah have all visited the supposed faith healer, John of God, in Brazil. And the woman who whistleblowed on him happened to die of suicide in Italy. Now, John of God has since been arrested for human trafficking, but the atrocities against people there, he was literally breeding women. After they had 3 children, he was executing them and burying them and selling the babies around the world. This is all connected to this sick group of individuals we are talking about right now. Now, another person which just happened to commit suicide right after they met John of God happened to be Anthony Bourdain. Do you remember him?
Yes. Yep. Yes.
Okay, so you look at Anthony Bourdain, you look into all these other people that are all sitting here at the pinnacle of this depravity, and there they all are. They're all interconnected. They're all pushing people, children, kids, babies throughout the world, and Epstein is the gateway to everybody.
This,
yep.
You know, in the process of being in child abuse and homicide and robbery and all that kind of stuff, you get used to dead, burnt, broken bodies, young or small. But when you have the terrible power, control, and adult to child mindfuck situations that these young children are placed into, there is no real, in my estimation, hell sufficiently hot to handle these people who are, this is such an interwoven nexus of evil. So let me ask both of you guys, Jeremy Hanson and Kaiser, and I asked you this before, is this finally going to be the predicating event where the cracks really start to come open in the facade of leftists and we begin to perhaps actually reveal some truth to the denizens and occupants of the United States? Is this it? Can we finally... Are we going to find any truth or even justice? I am almost of the point where justice, I don't know, but truth, can we find some truth in any of this? Gentlemen.
Go ahead first, Kaiser.
Okay, here's what I say about it. If they can keep Epstein alive, at least get him deposed. You got to remember, Comey's, you're very correct on that, Comey's daughter is in the SDNY. She is in the Southern District of New York. I know we touched about it on that one too. Here's the thing. If they can keep him healthy, at least get him deposed. But nothing's better than a live witness. You know that, BZ, and so do I. So if he gets gacked, that could kill the entire thing. Okay? And prison is a rough place. Even if they put him in, you know, people hang themselves accidentally, even without belts and whatnot in prison. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
accidents.
Accidentally hung himself, accidentally shot himself 5 times. You know, things happen. But the thing that I'm saying is it can absolutely destroy the deep state, what it can touch, because remember, a lot of the deep state's just the SES, the Special Executive Service, and that's the majority of it. And most of them aren't players in this game. NXIVM, that connection you made with NXIVM is very correct. Because you've got Weinstein's linked to it, Hillary's linked to it. There's a whole lot of nastiness going on with NXIVM. And remember the girl that was trafficking for NXIVM that got caught in England? I mean, this human trafficking, I have not. There's a lot of stuff I don't talk about, but in that community, you know, I'm pretty well known by people, and that's why I don't play that game. I'm just telling you that this has gone too far, and I hope that. Sorry about that.
Somebody's Skyping you, dude.
Yeah, somebody's trying to Skype in. I hope that I honestly hope that that Epstein stays alive. I hope he can testify. I hope they don't redact everything he testifies to, so that people can see and shed sunlight on this, because it's gonna hit a lot of people. If you think Chief Justice Scalia being killed on a Democrat's ranch was an accident,
that always stunk.
There's a lot of things.
That always stunk to high heaven. I'm sorry, call me a tinfoil hat wearer. It stunk to high heaven.
Yeah, well, that's really. Yeah. I want to hear what Jeremy has to say, but I'm pretty sure he draws the same lines I do. It's pretty simple to follow if you actually can follow the players, and that's the hardest part.
I think that you're exactly right when it comes to America. The problem we have is the players are so global. We have a lot of people at the Vatican. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. We have Mossad that's involved. We have royalty that's involved. We have all these different higher upper echelon people that are in control of this, and they have been for a long time. This is going to take a long time to get through. But even at a local level, we're winning. On that same program, nobody really caught it, but I talked about a deputy director prosecutor for the state of Arkansas from 1990 to 1995 that was arrested, that had been caught with machine guns without numbers on it. He was raping a little girl. He had worked directly for the Clintons. He is now arrested. He's behind bars. And when you start looking across the United States, we're seeing these players that are picked up. John of God down in Brazil. He's picked up. Jorge Torres down in El Salvador. He's picked up. In the Catholic Church, guess what? They've sequestered different priests that were doing this. It's all about the money, and it's all about the elite, and it's really going to be about how far do we take it that the American people can handle it. Because I'm telling you right now, them raping these kids is the least of our worries. When we start talking about child sacrifice, which has happened, people turn it off. They say, I don't want to hear about it, or that's fake news, but it's real. And until the American people are able to handle that type of thing, I don't know how far it will go.
What we're discovering now, though, is that this is also interwoven, has been so for so many years. Jeremy Hanson, you make an excellent point in terms of can the American gut, can the American brain, can the American psyche handle the profoundly resolute evil? I can think of no other word for it. The evil that's being perpetrated by some people. This is, just as I said about the dossier, that's politics. You're talking about people's lives now. You're talking about evil so pointed and so distinct that has been coddled and petted and pushed aside and kept from the prying eyes of anyone that wasn't a member of the club. This is the tip of the iceberg. With the dossier, it's the tip of the iceberg. I said if they ever get back and they reveal the actual affidavit, the application for the dossier, that's it. The deal is done. Everything from that point out is tits up. Let
me ask you this. Dr. Phil, I don't know if you guys follow Dr. Phil.
No, I do not.
He had a woman on there. Okay, this is about 2 years ago. He had a woman on there that was bred to be a slave. She was bred to be a sex slave. This is on national television, and Dr. Phil has said that he will stick by it and blah, blah, blah. My question is, out in the open national TV, we have a woman that says she was kidnapped. She's free now. We have DNA available. Why did that story just kind of go to the wayside? Why aren't Americans like, well, who in the hell is she? Where did she come from? How do we stop these people? Why are we that way as a society?
Part and parcel of it, I can tell you quite frankly, is because I was recruited for child abuse. I didn't want to go there. I never thought of child abuse as being a place that I wanted to go. And frankly, I was recruited because I have no kids. And people thought that, well, he doesn't have any kids, so, we'll put him in there. Well, when you first go to child abuse, people, at least in my venue of law enforcement over here, the first things you get is of child abuse, you get the calls that even those in child abuse don't want to handle. And that's, as the rookie, you get the dead, burnt, broken babies, the infants. And if you can handle that, then you move on to the people that are the true mind fuckers, the pedophiles and whatnot. And when I was there in child abuse, I cannot tell you how many people I lost as acquaintances, as friends, because when they would ask me what I did that day and I began to tell them, for example, the Sacramento Catholic Diocese hit a priest on me, and then I was told by my supervisor, do not follow up on that. But when you begin to tell people the sorely evil crap that people play and lay upon each other, then folks don't want to hear it. They really don't want to hear it. I believe this is the tip of the iceberg. It's going to break. It really is going to break. There's going to be more. And the American people don't have a stomach for war. The American people, I certainly discovered on a personal level, they don't have any stomach for the stuff that I saw. Kaiser, you know this for a fact. People may say, hey, Kaiser, man, dude, how many people have you killed? And you have a question like that for me? Blow me. I've seen and done things, you've seen and done things that we cannot begin to. People don't want to hear about this. People don't want to hear about this. That's all that I can say. They'd much rather watch Survivor or Bachelorette or any of that kind of stuff than deal with the crap that's right in front of their face. This is the tip of the iceberg.
I truly believe this is one of them things where it's clean up your own backyard, meaning your local community, and it's going to take true red-blooded, America-loving people to start cleaning this up and say, this isn't politics. This is about good versus evil. We're done with it.
It's funny you should mention that, Jeremy Hanson, because I was hoping that I would get to this. There was an article that just came out today. And, no, actually, it was late last year. I take it back. But it was so astounding that it made me want to talk about it today. And unfortunately, we only got about 2 or 3 minutes left before the end of the show. But I got to get this in now, and then I want the opinion. I want you guys to weigh in. Here's an article from the Daily Mail. I get a lot of my stuff about what's happening in the United States from across the pond, from the Brits, of all people. The article, the headline is, authorities find, this was staggering to me. Authorities find 123 missing children in just one day during a Michigan sex trafficking operation. My first thought was, what the fuck? That's just one day.
Well, that's one day in Michigan. There was 340-some found in Atlanta, Georgia in one day.
The one in Michigan, I believe they were all Hondurans or something like that, and it was one woman who held them and forced them to work, too. I mean, that one's a disgusting one. But, yeah, they're not – the media is complicit in this, and you know this too, brother. I mean this, Jeremy. The media is completely complicit because they do not – now, local news will broadcast all the pedo arrests that have been going on.
Right.
But nobody else – national news does not cover it. There's a running tally, and right now we're at about 30,000, probably plus, people who have been arrested nationally. That's just what's in the U.S. We're not talking about overseas, because other nations are cracking down on it too. So, I mean, when everybody cries about Adnan Khashoggi's nephew getting killed, there was a reason he was killed by the Saudis. That's all I can say.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that plays in this world. And anyways, I got to step up. But, BZ, I understand your sentiment totally. I'm going to listen online for you guys because it's been an epic show for y'all, and I feel like I'm screwing it up. But the point is, I would never ask you about that, just like I know you would never ask me about that kind of stuff, because it's not professional, and that's one of the reasons I'm glad to hang up, because I'm starting to get a little emotional about this. All right, man. Love you, man.
Amen.
God bless.
Brother.
Be well. Be safe.
Thanks, Kaiser. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Well, okay. I didn't see this developing. This has been a very important show, I think, and my eyes have been opened. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. I've done some crazy stuff. I used to tell my trainees when we'd go into any call, and I would tell them at the conclusion of a week of having been trained, I would tell them there isn't anything that you can do, say, or think of, no matter how depraved, unusual, disgusting, or reprehensible, that hasn't been done already and probably a good 1,000 years ago. So anything that you see here as you're being trained, as you're in law enforcement, this is old hat. This stuff has been done for years and years. And I suspect Jeremy Hanson, this is the tip of the iceberg. This stuff has been going on for years and years and years. And someone or a series of someones made such a significant mistake that it's now, just now, going to become public. And I go back to sphincters are watertight all across the United States, and as you said, Jeremy Hanson, all across the world. All across the world.
Right. I want to thank you for having me on tonight. It's been an honor, and I love doing this. I love cross-promoting. I love talking with new hosts because I really put a lot into what you guys do. And it's an honor because I know what you put into your show.
Thank you very much, and that's one of the major reasons that I wanted to have you here tonight is I think people need to I completely agree. I love to cross-promote people. When there are people that have a significant voice that need to be heard, I love to have them on the show. You are a significant voice that needs to be heard, and because of that, again, please tell people where they can find your show and listen to you, Jeremy Hanson.
Well, you can find me over at Spreaker, Unleash Jeremy Hanson, mojo50.com, 5 to 7 Eastern, or you can head over to the website, ujhlive.com, and get all the updates. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you ever so kindly. As I am usually wont to do, can I have you back sometime?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. God bless you, sir. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's late in where you are, if I'm not mistaken. It's a little after 10 p.m. Pacific, which means it's a little after midnight where you are right now. So thank you for that, too. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Take care, Jeremy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was a great show. That was a great radio host. You need to listen to his show. This is one of the major, multiple reasons why I really enjoy doing my show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Studios Network. You want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP, and on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Thanks to, by the way, Big Sarge Media for simulcasting my show every Tuesday and Thursday night. Want to tell you that promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and also by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also Pratt & Whitney engines. Thrust. You can trust. Tiaras. as per normal, or by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One of refueling team with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. Thanks for listening live. Thanks for partaking of chat. Thanks for listening in podcast. Thanks to Jeremy Hanson, Unleashed Jeremy Hanson. Sorry, no chat show tomorrow night. I'll be back Thursday night with Ken McClinton, the exceptional conservative. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.